Ready? Get behind, back. Good girl. Now pretend like we've just walked from up there, okay? Come on in. Fern, here. Turn round. It's acting, Fern. We're going this way. It's acting, Fern. You've got to act like we're walking this way. I know it's weird. There we go. Pretend like we've just come from there and we're going to walk towards the camera. Okay? Come on in. Hello and welcome back to Field Study, an exploration of food and the landscape. It's early summer down here on the Isle of Wight and May is slowly fading into June and it is absolutely glorious. So as always, sit back and relax as me and Fern take you on a walk in the great British countryside and introduce you to some wild edible plants that are good to forage for right now. How's that sound, Fern? You ready? Governor. Oh, down you get. So this first plant that we come across here will be familiar to most of you as it grows in almost every single hedgerow in the UK, and it is Crataegus monogyna or hawthorn. Now, this plant has many edible uses as we go through the year. At this time of year, as you can see now, it is coming out in full blossom and there's this profusion of these beautiful delicate white flowers. And these flowers can be picked and used to make wine. Hawthorn blossom wine is very, very nice if you let it age for about a year and a half, 2 years. It is very, very nice. It makes like a lovely floral white wine. I know everyone gets really, really excited for elderflower season, for making elderflower champagne, but let's not forget that there are other flowers out there that make incredible wines, incredible alcoholic beverages, and have been used to make country wines for centuries, millennia, and this is one of them. This plant forms a lovely shrubby bush when it's cut, and that is why we've used it for thousands of years for creating hedges, because it is excellent when it is laid in a traditional way for making thick bushes which keep livestock in, etc. So human beings have a long history of using this plant to sort of enclose bits of land, and we also have a long history of eating it. The leaves of this plant are edible. They're best in the early spring when they first come out. They're nice and succulent, but you can eat them all year round. They just might have a little bit of a bitter taste, but you can cook them into things. But the leaves have a very distinctive shape, which are very, very recognizable. And per 100 grams, it actually contains more antioxidants than acai berries and blueberries and all of those things that we are sold in the supermarkets that are meant to have antioxidant properties. A thing that I might try experimenting with this year is putting the leaves in fermented foods. So when my cabbages come good, I might put some hawthorn leaves in with the cabbage, just to make my sauerkraut next level good for me. You know, I can eat it and know that it's doing me good internally. So the fruit of this bush is also delicious and versatile and very, very useful. Also has a lot of medicinal properties later on in the year. So when you are harvesting the blossom, if you are making wine, make sure that you don't harvest all of it, because where this blossom is, the fruit will be later on in the year after this blossom is pollinated. So the more blossom you leave, the more fruit you'll get later on in the year. The berries, or drupes technically, that this plant produces are called haws, H-A-W-S. Or hawthorn berries, or whatever you want to call them, but they are incredibly rich in vitamin C. They're good if you've got a cold, an excellent thing to nibble on. They have the texture of avocado, which is slightly weird at first, but you get used to it. And they are also very, very high in pectin, so they can be used to set fruit leathers. So you use the fruit of this plant in conjunction with other fruits to make delicious things and preserve the season of your fresh fruit right the way through the winter. So that's something I absolutely love doing in the autumn. I will be showing you how to do that a little bit later on in the season, but if you're curious, and I think you guys out there probably are, I'll put a link to someone else's video up in the top corner of the screen so you can click and learn and have a good time. So there we go, Crataegus monogyna. It is a true human friend. It is excellent for the immune system. So this is one of the plants that I have in my toolkit if I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. And it is looking glorious at the moment. Morning. Oh, good girl. Yes, good girl, good girl, good girl. Hello, can you see me? So the next plant that we come to here is stitchwort. So this is greater stitchwort. There are two types of stitchwort. There is lesser stitchwort and there is greater stitchwort. Greater stitchwort has the bigger flowers, as the name suggests, and they are about 2 centimetres to 3 centimetres across. And this is a beautiful edible flower. Now you can identify it easily by its flowers. It has 5 petals that look like 10 petals. So it has 5 petals, but if you look, they are deeply notched in the middle. So the leaves are these lovely pointy leaves that grow in opposite pairs down the stem. And as you travel down the stem, you'll notice that these opposite pairs rotate by 90 degrees. The stem itself is a little bit rough in texture and squared off. It really is a lovely plant to know. It flowers from about April to June if the conditions are right, and it scrambles through our hedgerows, making them look really, really pretty. Now this plant is a close relative of chickweed, but it doesn't have that sort of sweet succulent nature to it. Instead the flowers are floral and sort of nutty, but what these are really, really good for is decoration and making food look nice. So you can drape them over a lovely nettle soup. You can put them in your salads in order to make them look more appealing, and that in itself I think has real value. So that brings me on to another thing that I wanted to talk to you about today, and that is variety when it comes to foraging. So there are plenty of things throughout the year that we pick purely for their flavour. So water pepper and elderflower and sorrel and lots of berries and stuff. And they are purely culinary flavour bombs, and they are to be looked forward to. But what's becoming increasingly obvious the more and more that we study our gut microbiome is that a variety of plants is something that can keep us healthy and happy. Now, people around the world that forage for most of their food can eat anything up to 315 different plant species in a year, which is phenomenal. And if you compare that to the modern Western diet that is really, really reliant on agriculture, it probably goes down to about 12 or 13 that we eat consistently, these fruits and vegetables that we've cultivated. And I really think that there is a part of our body that's crying out for that variety, that nutritional variety that exists in the wild when we're out looking for our food. So something like this stitchwort, it might not be the most flavour-packed thing in the world, but adding it into your diet increases that variety. It also increases your knowledge of the landscape, which is nourishing in itself. So I think it is really, really important. Even Fern forages for cleavers, don't you, Fern? Right, so let's carry on the walk, and I'm going to show you one more plant that is good to forage for right now. For any of you that are new to the channel, firstly, hello from Fern and myself. And secondly, every Friday night I do a live stream, which is either a question and answer, or it is a live foraging walk where I take you out into the beautiful British countryside like this and introduce you to some plants along the way. So you're more than welcome to join. It's usually around 7 p.m. on a Friday, every single Friday. Right, let's carry on the walk. So for this next plant, we've come here to this patch of cool, shady woodland. And it is a plant that I've explored before, but at this time of year, as it starts to go over into the later stages of its life cycle, it gives us a brand new ingredient to play with. The plant is, of course, wild garlic, or bear's garlic, ramsons. So at this time of year, you can find patches of wild garlic simply by following your nose, because as the leaves start to rot away and turn yellow, it fills the air with the sweet, heady smell of garlic. Someone once described it to me as the smell of God cutting onions. So if you are driving through a landscape and you smell garlic really, really strongly, you know that this is nearby. But at this time of year, when the leaves maybe aren't the most choice of edibles, ramson gives us its seed. And these seeds are absolutely beautiful. So they will appear at the end of the spike where the flowers once were. Lots of alliums flower in a very, very similar way, which is this explosion of flowers coming out from a central point. So it really, really looks like a firework. But at the end of these flowering points, you will find clusters of 3 seeds. So they're all attached to each other in a group of 3, and they're covered in this beautifully crunchy green outer casing. So if you wait a little bit later on, you can remove these seeds from their outer casing, and you can crush them down and make like a black onion powder, which is delicious and versatile as a spice. But if you pick them now when they're green, they make the perfect pickle. I call it wild garlic caviar. So if you pick the things and put them in a pickling solution, or you can even just salt them like capers, they will last for a long time, and they are delicious on top of a nice bit of white fish in the summer. They really are a wonderful ingredient. The taste isn't too challenging for most people because it just tastes like garlic, and they've got a beautiful texture. So there we go. Go out and make some wild garlic caviar. You won't regret it. If you want to know more about how to identify wild garlic, check out the reading list below, and I'll also put a link to a video I did earlier in the season up in the corner. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that journey into the Great British countryside. Thank you very much for watching. Fern, come on, that's just rude. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and hit subscribe for more foraging videos from this beautiful landscape. Until next week, take care.